This is my sidekick. When I pat him, he starts purring really, really loud and he gets really excited. He's an adorable little place, kind of slightly cross-eyed. When he looks at you, one eye's looking slightly off. But he's a gorgeous little fellow. And he comes in here while I'm working on the computer. He climbs all over the computer, climbs all around the cupboards, into the drawers, gets into everything. And so he's a real, see, little wee fella. I just thought I'd show him to you. I wanted to say why I like the place. My father wasn't your law-abiding person. He was into growing his own marijuana, going against the law. He preferred gangs to the place. And I was the complete opposite. While I was a child, I couldn't understand what the heck was wrong. I thought if you wanted a decent society, you backed the place up. You wanted law and order, you wanted decency, honesty, and good things. But my parents were into this rebel thing. There's two ways of being a rebel. One is being a rebel for good, and one is being a rebel for um, just careless, immature. I was going to say stupidity, immature activities. It's not something I like. Anyway, years ago, I wrote an article on the Genuine Tokara page here in Tokara about the place, and it was very, very good, and it was very, very well received. People just loved it. Huge amount of comments under it, and the police, when they saw me, they were really nice to me and all that. Now, because of the character assassination, my relationship with the police at that time, years ago, soured somewhat. But the article came from, I was listening to the radio one day in the morning, and a police man had said there was been a motorcycle. He was talking about their job, how tired he was. And that morning, another policeman had been to a motorcycle accident. He walked over and he picked up the helmet, and he felt it was heavy, and he looked in it, and the man's head was in it. It had been completely cut off in the accident. And he was stressed out over what he picked up. And I just thought about all the things the police did and all the hell they had to go through. And sure, as a security, my life can be threatened, and the like. And we go to alarms before the police get there if there's been a break-in. So we have a very high chance of being killed. If they're all beaten up or hurt. So I kind of understand where they come from, but they get a lot more money than us, but they do a lot more paperwork and they go to the courthouses more and they see things like I could come across car accidents and the like. But I felt that we needed to show respect for the police because the public didn't quite understand what the police went through. My wife's brother was always calling them effing pigs. And I once said to him one day, he was sat in front of his kids, and I said, look, your children one day are going to grow up and they're going to need the police one day. Like your daughter's about to get raped. Do you want her to think of them as effing pigs or someone who could save them? And I was very angry at him for promoting the place to his children in such a negative way. Therefore, they couldn't get help from the police, or they might be too proud or too arrogant. And the police are there for a purpose. I don't necessarily agree with the laws. Like I'm very much against abortion, and so it is lawful to have abortions. I don't support it in the slightest. My uncles were police, some of them, and in the 1980s when they had the protesters against the All Blacks in South Africa, my uncles heavily supported rugby and they didn't like protecting or siding with the protesters because they were disrupting the games that my uncles wanted to see because they supported the All Blacks in rugby and the South Africans were here to play rugby. and it wasn't a racist issue because there were dark people in the team and everything. So they wanted to see the game, but they had to go against their beliefs to support the police, and so they have to make sacrifices. They attend car accidents where children are dead, where people are decapitated, where their bodies are mashed up, where they have to go around to the homes of the people with some and tell the parents and the family members that someone's passed away. And it could be in a horrific car accident. They have to face up to gang lords or whatever, when they're doing a bus. And they do their best to protect themselves and everything, but they still have to do this sort of thing. And they wear protective gear, but they still have to do this stuff, and they still have to put their lives at risk. And every single day they go out, they just don't know what's going to happen. I remember reading about in New Zealand, a policeman pulled over I think it was a gang member. He didn't know who was in the car though. And the guy pulled out a shotgun and blew his head off. The policeman's head off. I mean, yeah. I mean, to turn around and put these people down for what they do and what they go through and how they support us and how they look after us, and which goes way beyond their pay packet. They sacrifice a lot for us. They make mistakes. They're human. They make mistakes. In the case with the character assassination with me, there was a few police were sucked in. But in my job and all the interactions I've had with police are fine. And I get on very, very well with them. And mainly it's because I think so highly of them and what they do. And I know that if I'm in an awkward position and I need the police, then, it's better to have a good relationship with them anyway. But if there's a break in and I have to call 111 or get a hold of the police and get the police to the place to go through it and fingerprint and everything, then I need to talk with the police to talk to them about what happened. We go in and we look at the phone if there's any camera, a video of the events and the criminals and stuff like that. And it's good stuff. I really like that interaction with the police. But I have a lot of respect for the police because of what they do. They're very when the article, I can't remember what I wrote in the article, but it was about that he'd been found in the helmet. It was about them being tired. It was about the long hours. It was about their motor accidents. They have to clean up, things that we don't want to face. The public. We don't see. We go past and we see an accident, and we maybe see bodies on the road, but we don't see what they see. We don't have to pick up the pieces, and the police, have to react and do things at a moment's notice. I've read a few about the police being attacked. I remember one where they were shot at by a guy, and I think it was a woman and a man, and they were walking up the driveway, and one of them got shot and hit the ground. The other one hit the ground, and they were getting fired at, and by a 22 rifle, I think. And I think one or both of them died. And there was another one back at the car, something like that. But the point here, and it wasn't over a simple thing, it wasn't over anything serious. And you just don't know how people are going to react. It's like we walk around and on security patrol and you talk to people. This is what I understand. And I see someone, I just talk to them and I say, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And sometimes people just get violent or they get nasty. And you sort of look at, I just stare at them like, yeah. And they go nuts, and things like that. And nothing's ever turned out really bad for me. But you have to be mentally prepared that every single person you meet, especially at nighttime, walking around companies, businesses, properties, schools, could be potentially very dangerous. And it's something that the police have to put up with all the time. Plus, on the weekends, they work, anniversaries, holidays, Christmas Day, things like that. And it's not easy being like that. But that's the job they've chosen. So I've talked to quite a few of the women, and they're very respectful. And I've noticed in the last 2 years there's been a lot more easy chatter between myself and the police when I talk to them, in the road and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm going along and they just pull me over and they ask me, have I seen somebody? Have I seen an event? Could I keep a lookout for something and call the police if I find out? And they use us security as extra eyes. And it's happened quite a lot, probably about, I can't remember how many times, heaps of times. And so different police will pull us security over and ask us these questions. And I say, yeah, sure, I'll keep a lookout. And I do. And it's just been that extra help to them because they're so busy. And so it's really, and the other thing is they have to break up gangs fights and stuff like that. And so you got to respect people who put their lives on the line for some of the most silliest things, but they're trying to keep the pace and do the thing that they said they, what do you say when the pledge? You make a pledge, and I can't remember what the word is, but anyway, when they took on the role as been and trained in the police force, they knew what they were getting into, and well, probably not. I had a friend who worked with Kinley. He became a policeman, and they interviewed him in the newspaper, and they said, well, because he was retiring quite young, and they said, what are you going to do? And he says, well, I'm going to wipe the blood off my hands and go and do whatever it was he said he was going to go and do. And so it's not an easy job, and there's a lot that happens with the place out of view that the public never sees. And there's a lot of struggles they go through, and they have to go. Some would have to go through therapy and stuff like that because of just being in the police force. You get abused. I get with security. I get driving around, and people, especially the younger generation, will see me and they'll quickly look down at the ground and they'll be like this and they'll be hiding their face. And I'm thinking, what the heck have you done? And it's always quite, but I got cameras in the car and everything so I can film them, and if anything comes up, I can give it to the police. And so that's kind of cool, But they get abused simply for being the police. And instead of getting respect for what they do and the risks that they take and the things they do for us. One of my brothers lost a finger, and the story I was told was my uncle's. I haven't got a brother. I think I said brothers. One of my uncles. He was a young girl who was um, by a building that was being demolished, and they said the wrecking ball or something that was being used to demolish the building came across, and he grabbed the girl as a policeman and put his hand up on the wall. And when he put his hand up on the wall, something hit his hand and cut his finger off or damaged his. I can't remember if it got cut or damaged. I've seen photos of him now, and they always say to my uncles say, and which one is which? And he's the one with the finger missing. And what happened was they fixed his finger, but he couldn't feel, and he couldn't use it. He couldn't bend it, and there was no feeling that he couldn't use it. It was just there for show. And in the end, he asked the doctor, he said, "Look, cut it off, please. It just always gets in the way when I try to pick things up." And because he couldn't bend it, so when he bent his other fingers, that one would stay like that whenever to grab something. It was just it would get caught on stuff, and so he got it cut off. And now he's the uncle with the missing finger. Um, if you um oh yeah, anyway, I was thinking of something completely different. So they put their body and their limbs on the line when they do their job, and they have to. I was talking to another policeman who become a Christian, and he was saying it was very hard going to houses and telling people that their daughter or son the parents had been killed in a car accident that night while out with friends in their car crash, and they died, and they'd have to go into each one's parents and tell them what happened, and often hugging the parents while they cried. And there's things that the place do that the general public just don't think of. They see what's on TV, and TV, the news normally shows the negative stuff. But there's a lot of positives to the police work and what they do, and helping with children, and the blue light, and they do things like trying to help the young people see the police in a better light, the police dogs, um, and it's all part of keeping law and order in a sense where it's making the world a better place, or our town, or our community, or our country. And we need them. We need people like that. A lot of people say, get rid of the police, get rid of the police. If you take the police away, you get instant violence. It's just druggies go crazy. And all the immoral, bad gambling and such activities explodes. It's just, if we saw the police as a value to our communities and to our country, and we made better laws, you know, a lot of the laws that the poor police have to execute are made by politicians who are immature, foolish, and have no idea what they're doing. So, you know, you've got to have this, when you think of the police, have a balance and respect them for what they do, respect for the hours they put in, the hard work, the risks they take. And it's the fact that when you walk down the street and you see a police person, female or male, they often give you a big, warm smile and they say hello. So, in general, they're just the same as us. They're good people. And we need to see them that way and respect them for the work and the job that they do. That's how I see the place, and that's why I respect the place. I don't necessarily believe in the laws, and I don't necessarily think we should follow all the laws. But the police themselves are just doing the job like the rest of us, and they should be respected for the effort and the risks that they take to do that job, to save us taking those risks, and to save us from cleaning up the messes and the problems that are out there. We don't see the dirty side of life, they do, and we need to respect them for that. God bless you.